Alright people, let's go ahead and start revising the next chapter. The next chapter is time of supply. Everyone over here, we started learning GST with goods and service. Goods and service has to be supplied. Supply can be interstate or intra. Inter means GST will be levied. Intra means CGST will be levied. Once GST is levied, GST has to be collected and paid by a taxable person. He will go ahead and calculate GST is equal to value of supply into rate of tax. Once you know the value, you will go ahead and prepare the tax invoice, credit note, debit note and delivery challan. Then you will go ahead and maintain your accounts and records, and you will send the goods to the other person with the help of e-way bill. Now government will go ahead and tell Ramesh, you have gone ahead and supplied the goods, you have gone ahead and raised the invoice, you have gone ahead and maintained your accounts, you have sent the goods also. What are you waiting for? Your bad time has come, and that is known as time of supply. That is, your liability to pay GST has come, and liability to pay comes at the time of supply. When we are learning time of supply, we will learn section number 12, which will go ahead and say time of supply in case of goods, 13, which will go ahead and tell time of supply in case of service, and 14, rate change. Right, everyone? Now, this chapter, in my opinion, is a big graded chapter again. 3 to 4 marks is the maximum which you can go ahead and expect. Good luck, then 6 marks also can go ahead and come. Now, everyone over here, time of supply in case of goods, section number 12. Section number 12 has section number 12.1 to section number 12.6. Section number 12.1 goes ahead and says, liability to pay tax on the goods shall arise at the time of supply. Section number 12.2 goes ahead and says, forward charge mechanism mein, you are liable to pay the tax on the date of invoice or last date to issue invoice. Sir, what do you mean by last date to issue invoice? On the date of removal, or sir, making available or delivery. Continuous supply of goods का case में successive statement or when payment is received. In case of goods sent on approval, the last date to issue invoice is once 6 months gets over, the very next day is the last date to issue invoice. Always remember, date of invoice or last date to issue invoice, whichever is earlier. As per section number 12.2a, it is date of invoice or last date to issue invoice, and then 12.2b goes ahead and says that's the date of receipt of payment. Date of receipt of payment means book entry or credit in the bank account, whichever is earlier. However, then government went ahead and told that, sir, generally, you will always go ahead and say section number 12.2a or 12.2b, whichever is earlier. But then government went ahead and told supplier of goods. Government issued notification number 66 bar 2017 central tax, where government went ahead and told, government notified the supplier of goods need not pay the tax on advance. Hence, supplier of goods need not go ahead and determine their time of supply by going in and applying section number 12.2b. They will go ahead and determine their time of supply as per section number 12.2a, which says date of invoice or last date to issue invoice, whichever is earlier. Then we have section number 12.3, which goes ahead and says recipient's point of view say reverse charge me if he has to pay tax on supply of goods. Then he will have to go ahead and see date of receipt of goods. First event is date of receipt of goods. Second event is date of payment. Date of payment is always your book entry or debit in the bank account, whichever is earlier, because when you make the payment, amount will be debited in your bank account. So, sir, date of receipt of goods or date of payment, or the supplier will go ahead and give you an invoice. From the invoice, you have to see the date following 30 days, date following 30 days from the date of invoice or other document by the supplier, which is basically the 31st day. Date of receipt of goods, date of payment or 31st day, whichever is earlier. Yes, everyone. Date immediately following 30 days from date of invoice or other document by the supplier, whichever is earlier. Now, always remember one thing, if the supplier is a registered person, in that scenario, he will give you a tax invoice. Yes, sir, but if supplier is an unregistered person and you are required to pay tax under RCM, in that scenario, supplier, if he doesn't give you an invoice, he will give you a commercial invoice or a bill from that day. From that date, you will have to go ahead and take 31st day. I hope everyone is clear over here. Sir, everyone over here, date of receipt of goods is not there, date of payment is also not there, and the 31st date 31st date is 31st day is also not there. That is the day following 30 days is also not there. Why, sir? Because the supplier did not give any invoice only. Then they are going ahead and telling one proviso is there in section number 12.3, which goes ahead and says if clause A, B, and C is not available, then take time of supply as the book entry in the books of accounts of the recipient. That is, I am the recipient. I will go ahead and make an entry. No purchase account debit to cash. That will only be the time of supply when my time will come bad. Always remember section number 12.2. Section number 12.1 went ahead and told liability to pay will come at the time of supply. 12.2 went ahead and told forward charge mechanism, date of invoice or last date to issue invoice, whichever is earlier. Section number 12.3 reverse charge, date of receipt of goods or date of payment or 31st day from date following 30 days from the date of invoice or other document by the supplier, which is basically the 31st day, whichever is earlier. Then we have vouchers ka case. Section number 12.4 goes ahead and says in case of voucher, if the supply is identifiable or supply is not identifiable at the time of issue of voucher, that is very important. If supply is identifiable at the time of issue of voucher, then go ahead, then the date of issue of voucher will become your time of supply. The day you are going in and issuing the voucher, that is only your time of supply. Reliance footprint ka example, it is there. Then sir, if supply is not identifiable, then always redemption date will become the time of supply. Shopper stop ka one example is there. Then section number 12.5 goes ahead and talks about residuary case. Sir, residuary case mein government went ahead and told if section number 12.2, 3 and 4 are not applicable, always remember the time of supply. If you are a registered person, the due date of going ahead and filing your return is the time of supply. If you are an unregistered person, the day you pay it, that will only become the time of supply. For an example, you are caught in an investigation, you went ahead and told, okay sir, I was a taxable person, I did not take registration, I want to pay and close the case. He will go ahead and pay. Then you will ask him, when will my liability come? He will tell the day you paid, that is only the date of, that is only the date when your liability has come. Can I go ahead, everyone? The next one over here is section number 12.6, which goes ahead and says interest, penalty and late fee. IPL ka case may always the date of receipt of IPL is the time of supply. Did not receive, no liability, but the day you receive it, that day your liability will come. Yes, everyone. Then we have section number 13, which talks about time of supply in case of service. Section number 13.1 goes ahead and says, section number 13.1 says liability to pay tax in case of services shall arise at the time of supply. Section number 13.2 goes ahead and says if you are a supplier, then the time of supply, if you have gone ahead and raised the invoice on time, the date of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. If you have not gone ahead and raised the invoice on time, date of provisioning of service or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. Always remember, supplier of service is required to pay GST on advance also. So, but if there is a small advance which is up to ₹1,000, which is being received by a supplier, then it is his option. He can go ahead and pay now also, or he can go ahead and pay on the date of invoice also. Always remember one thing, supplier of service has to go ahead and raise an invoice within 30 days. If he is NBFC, banking company, financial institution and insurance company, then the time limit is 45 days. If I am a supplier of service and I am going ahead and providing continuous supply of service which is greater than 3 months, then the time limit to raise the invoice is if due date is ascertainable on or before due date of payment is not ascertainable from the contract, then on or before receiving the payment. Sir, if payment is linked to completion on or before completion of the event, I should go ahead and raise the invoice. Always remember one thing, 30 days, 45 days or due date, or when you are receiving the payment or on completion of the event, you have to raise the invoice on or before. If you have raised the invoice on time, date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. If you have not raised the invoice on time, date of provisioning of service or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. Always remember, if section number 13.2a or 13.2b is not applicable to you, basically you don't have date of invoice, date of receipt of payment or date of receipt of payment, or you don't have date of provisioning of service, they are going ahead and telling if 13.2a and b is not applicable, 13.2c goes ahead and says that sir, your time of supply will be based on recipient's books of account. Supposingly, I went ahead and provided someone service. I did not go ahead and raise the invoice. I took the money in cash and I'm enjoying. Later, one investigation happened in his books of account and the officer went ahead and saw there is no GST being charged. He will go ahead and tell me, Ramesh, you went ahead and supplied him and you did not go ahead and charge the GST. My time of supply will be based on recipient's books of account, and the day he has done the book entry, that will become my time of supply. Then we have section number 13.3. You always have to remember that when we went ahead and learned section number 12.3, we went ahead and learned date of receipt of goods or date of receipt of date of payment, not receipt of payment, date of payment, or 31st day from the date of invoice. But then in case of 13.3, when it comes to reverse charge in case of service, date of receipt of service is not there. Date of receipt of service is not there. Date of payment is there, or 31st day becomes 61st day from the date of invoice, that is day following 60 days from the date of invoice by the supplier of service. Are we clear, everyone? If supplier is registered, he will give you a tax invoice. If supplier is unregistered, he will give you a commercial invoice or bill. Yes, everyone, let's go ahead. Now, always remember, in case of reverse charge, in case of service, always date of payment or 61st day from the date of invoice by the supplier. If importation of service is also happening, that is also date of payment or 61st day from the date of invoice by the supplier. But if importation of service happens from associate enterprises, then always it will be date of payment, or instead of 61st day, they have gone ahead and told it is the date of book entry in the books of accounts of the recipient. Yes, everyone. Now, always remember, if section number 13.3a, that is date of payment or 61st day is not available, means basically the supplier did not go ahead and give you the invoice, then how to calculate 61st day from the date of invoice of the supplier? Then in that scenario, you can go ahead and take book entry date of the recipient as the time of supply. So I have gone ahead and received the goods under reverse charge. In that scenario, my book entry date will be taken as my date of time of supply. Then always remember 13.4 voucher, 13.5 residuary case, and 13.6 which is interest, penalty and late fee, same as goods का केस. वाउचर का केस में सप्लाई आइडेंटिफाइबल, डेट ऑफ इश्यू, सप्लाई नॉट आइडेंटिफाइबल, डेट ऑफ रिडम्पशन. रेसिड्यूअरी केस, रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन, ड्यू डेट ऑफ फाइलिंग ऑफ रिटर्न. सर, अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन, डेट ऑफ पेमेंट विल बिकम द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. इंटरेस्ट, पेनल्टी एंड लेट फी में the date of receipt of such interest, penalty and late fee. The next one over here is time of supply in case of rate change. Always remember one thing, rate change ka case mein there are two scenarios which are there. One is the goods and service supplied before the rate change? Always remember one thing, if you are falling in before ka case, you have to go ahead and see if invoice is before or payment is before. For an example, goods and service, this is rate change, goods and service supplied here, invoice is before, payment is after. What is before? Invoice is before, so invoice will be the date of time of supply and old rate will apply. Sir, rate change happened here, goods and service supplied here, payment is before, invoice is after. What is before? Because we are dealing with before ka case, payment is before, date of payment will become the time of supply and old rate will come. Sir, here the rate change, supply happened over here before wala case, but invoice is also after, payment is also after. You have to take whichever is earlier, and because both of them are after, the new rate will apply. Then sir, if supposingly goods and services are supplied here, sir, here supposingly goods and services are supplied after. So sir, invoice is after, payment is before. What is after? Invoice. So date of invoice will become the time of supply and after ka rate, new rate will apply. Sir, if goods and services are supplied after, payment is after, invoice is before. What is after? Payment, and hence you are dealing with after ka case. What is after? Date of payment, and after wala rate, new rate will apply. Sir, goods and service supplied after, invoice is also before, payment is also before. Always remember whichever is earlier and old rate will apply. Then they have gone ahead and told special provisions are also applicable. If supposingly you are going ahead and saying that when you are going ahead and determining the time of supply over here, and you go ahead and see that the time of supply comes in case of goods date of payment, then always do one thing. The time of supply will be deferred to the date of invoice, and Baba, the rate will be applicable as of the date of payment. Yes, everyone. Supplier of goods need not pay the GST on receipt of advance. So supposingly in special circumstances, you went ahead and saw that the time of supply is coming as date of payment and it's an advance. Then in that scenario, you can go ahead and shift the time of supply to the date of invoice. and but in that scenario, invoice ka date ka rate will not apply. Rate will be applicable as on the date of payment. Only payment of GST is being deferred, but the rate will be applicable as on the date of time of supply, which was basically the date of payment. I hope everyone is clear. Let's go ahead. Always remember one thing. Generally, the date of receipt of payment is always the book entry or credit, whichever is earlier. However, in special circumstances, government went ahead and told, if supposingly this is the date of rate change and you have gone ahead and received one check over here, once the rate change happened, make sure your bank account may check is credited within 4 working days. If the check is credited within 4 working days, then it is date of book entry or credit in the bank account, whichever is earlier. So date of book entry will become your date of payment. But sir, if rate change happened over here, book entry means your account may check was, you have received check on this date, but the check did not get credited in the bank account within 4 working days. The day the check gets credited in the bank account, that will be the date of payment. I hope everyone is clear. Date of receipt of payment is generally what? Date of receipt of payment is book entry or credit, whichever is earlier. If rate change ka case is there, then date of receipt of payment will be, if amount is credited within 4 working days, then book entry or credit, whichever is earlier. But if it is not credited within 4 working days, then they are going ahead and telling, we will go ahead and take not book entry and credit, whichever is earlier, we will go ahead and take the actual date of credit in the bank account as the time of date of payment, as the date of payment. We went ahead and learned section number 12. Section number 12 went ahead and told about time of supply of goods. 13 told about time of supply in case of service. 14 went ahead and told about rate change. Right, everyone? I will go ahead and close my revision on the chapter of time of supply over here. I told you already it's a B graded chapter. 3 to 4 marks is something which is expected in the exam. Have a great day, everyone. Take care. Bye, guys. Love you all.